A few more people are joining, and we'll get everybody in. Welcome to our class. We are going to be discussing Excel macros. I will be staying in Excel, the client that's actually installed on my computer. I will not be doing anything with Google Sheets or through the cloud version. We will create a macro. We will perform different actions with those macros. We'll create a button for your macro if that's something you'd like to do, and how to quickly access them with a button on the quick access toolbar. Macro troubleshooting, because sometimes, they can cause us a little bit of confusion. We want to understand when that happens, how to fix it. VLOOKUP is the other big rock we're going to tackle today. Practice of VLOOKUP. Actually, XLOOKUP is something we're going to be working on. Add error handling when you have that, and filters and sorting. We'll end with a easy topic. I'm going to close off my video. It just allows me to be more flexible and not a distraction to you. And let me check one last thing before we get started. Well, everything is set. Thank you for your patience. Now that we have covered our agenda, let's talk about what a macro will do in Excel. It really is just a little program, and it performs a set of actions. And Excel will really write the script in behind the scenes that makes this little program run for you. So imagine you have cells that you like to format, and every time you open a certain report from the data collector, you want to set your column headers. You want to freeze the top row. Just formatting. That's a good reason to create a macro. Maybe you want to insert an auto sum formula on a sheet. Maybe create a chart, or maybe clean up duplicate or blank rows. So all of those mundane, time-consuming tasks are things you can make yourself more efficient and save time through a macro. So instead of doing them over and over every time, you can perform them once with this macro recording, and then anytime you need them, you just run the macro, and Excel does all those steps for you instantly. Now, bonus tip, there is something called a master macro you can create. I'm not covering that. It's something to look forward in the future, but that will let you run multiple macros at once. And as long as the steps don't conflict with what their tasks are, you can run them in any order. Showing the developer tab. You don't have to do this now, but I certainly hope you are able, if you have multiple screens, to multitask. And we will show the developer tab when adding a button to a sheet. Now, the steps are here for you. They're outlined in case you don't do this right now. But if you have Excel open, you can follow through. Click on File. Look down that long list down to the bottom, Options. And when you click on Options, your Excel options open, and you want to look on the left for Customize Ribbon. When you customize the ribbon, popular commands are going to appear in the left bank, and you're going to pull over the developer commands. And when you do that, you can click OK. And what you'll see then in Excel in your menus will be the developer and the codes that go with the developer item. Now we see record macro is there, macros. There's even this little button for Visual Basic. So those are all there for you now when you turn that on. Text formatting. This is my quick demonstration. This is my daily use. I do library support, so there is a whole shelf list of all the library books that are in the building that I want to detect the first column. And the column is the barcode of the item. Well, because it's over 12 characters, which is Excel's limit, then it displays in scientific notation. Well, when I look at scientific notation, that doesn't really help me a whole lot if I need to go copy that barcode and go use that number somewhere. So let me show you this very quickly. I have this file open already in Excel, and I'll pull this window up for all of you to see. So here it is. There's that barcode column. And I put this on my quick access toolbar. If you're not familiar with that, this is where you can customize little buttons at the top. And I picked a symbol of a pound sign of a number. And when I click it, voila, that's it. Every time I open a shelf list, I only have one single click instead of all the lengthy select a column, right click, format, numbered, no decimal spaces, because that's very time consuming. So here's just a quick demonstration of what the point is of the macro. We are going to work together. You should have received a link for this class, and for the recording, I'll have a link in the video description for later to access the folder of files. And we're going to open up the file, the data collector teacher license demo file. This was one I used recently. And of course, it's got certain things that help make it readable, such as completing the spreadsheet, freezing the top row, the wrap text, justify the column width, and applying filters. There are 4 things that I would have to do every time I'd open up one of these data collector files, and that's just really irritating. Well, I can save my time, and every time I open one of those files, it would be really great to use my macro. Now, let's go open that file and have it available. And if you have the file and want to follow along, I encourage you to. So mine is on my desktop. I'm not having every file open ahead of time because it would be a lot of files and I'd probably get confused. But this is what the file typically looks like. We have all these column headers kind of crunched and cutting off. So if I want to follow those steps, they're in our presentation. We're going to open up the data collector sheet. I have that. You can go to View, pick Macros, Record Macro. Or if you did go into your settings and turned on the Developer tab, go to there and click Record Macro. We will name it Freeze, Wrap, Justify, Filter. I'm going to pull this note down because you also see there, I have a link in the handout. There's a whole handout that came from EMIS Alliance that goes through these steps. So I'm going to follow those. And I didn't put every single step on that slide. So you have a document to reference for these steps. So here we go. I'm going from the View tab. I'm going to click on macros here. I'm going to click the arrow actually, so it reveals record macro. Now it asks for a name, right? And I said freeze, wrap, justify. If I get my fingers in the right places on the keyboard. And what was the last thing? Filter. It will do all those things for us. We do have the option of adding a shortcut key if I wanted. And so maybe the Control F, the F key, could be my little keyboard shortcut to turn this on. And where am I storing this? I'll talk more about this in depth. This is one that you can use on any spreadsheet. It is not specific to just the one I have open. So if you look, there should be something called the Personal Macro Workbook. Do you want to describe it? Sure, you could say that this is going to freeze, top row, wrap text, justify, and turn on filters. And that's really just reference for you later in case you've picked a title that's a more abbreviated. Mine's a little easier to figure out. And click OK. As soon as you click the OK, oh, forgive me, I've done practice. And so I'm going to replace the existing one, which is fine because my practice one was not perfect. And I'm going to say yes. What I see down here at the bottom right corner is this box, and it says a macro is currently recording. Click to stop the recording. So we'll go down there at the end of this. But for right now, it's going to record any action that I do on my screen. So I haven't clicked, I've just wiggled my mouse around, that's all. So the first step I'm going to do, though, is click on the 1 to select the first row. And I'm going to do something, right? The row, I want that to be frozen. So all I do is go to my View tab, which I'm on, and go to Freeze Panes and pick the top row. Check. That's one of the first, that's the first of the 4 items. Next, I'm going to the Home tab. I'm going to pick Wrap Text. Awesome. Because that was something I wanted to happen on that first row only, which was still selected. And now I'm going to click on the triangle between A and row 1. So I'm going to really just put my cursor anywhere between 2 columns in the header. So between A and B or B and C. And the point here is I'm going to do a double click. And that is justifying all of the columns because I had everything selected when I clicked up there in the triangle space. So that's my justify. And last, from the Home tab, which I'm still on, I'm going to click Sort and Filter and pick Filter. And now the little filter buckets are all on my top row. I'm done, so I will click Stop. Off to the right, if you do see this record actions, it's letting you know, hey, we're offering you an Office script. And if you don't know anything about these or the Visual Basic and Office scripts, you can just ignore it. I am actually going to click Don't Show Again and discard the script. I don't need that more than what I am capable when it comes to scripting, so I could ignore it. Now, the last thing to do would be to test it. And you can test by clicking undo in Excel first. So, all right, there we go. I see how the filter's turned off, but I could now go to View and I could go to Macros and it displays macros. Now, last time I was in here, I was looking at just this workbook. That's not where I decided to save it. I asked to save it here in this personal. That allows it to be used on multiple sheets, no matter what file I have open. So when I pick Freeze, Wrap, Justify, Filter, it's selected and I can run it. And there you go. Now all those filter buckets showed. I know I didn't have a lot to show for the other features because when I clicked undo, it didn't really give us a lot to look at. Now, that is the first one. This is great for EMIS professionals, anyone who likes to freeze that top row when you're going through a lot of data. I want to stop and ask, are there any questions with formatting?
Hey,
And if
I
you,
do have a
yeah,
question. So
sure.
what if I wanted to go in and edit that macro that I just saved? Like, let's say I want to center that top line. Can I edit that or do I have to start over?
You can edit it because it's on that personal. I'll even show you here. So if I'm on my view menu and I went to macros and just here, if I said, oh, I want to edit, I made a mistake. There's something wrong. If you do click edit, it's gonna say, hey, this file, it's hidden. You're gonna have to unhide it, yada, yada. Personally, I have found it's just better to re-record it, but you do need to delete this first one or rename it something else. But if the names are going to be so similar, you're going to be like, okay, wait. And you did see I had one named the same thing, and it let me just write right over top of it. You will still have, if I was going to delete this, I have to also unhide the workbook. And I do talk about that here in a little bit on another slide. But my personal experience is just re-record it, long as it wasn't too complex. This right now is probably one of the most complex, and it had 4 steps in it. Um, but that's my opinion. If someone else has more experience, which I forgot to ask a poll of all of you, let me pull that up real quick. Um, if you have more experience with macros and you were here more for the VLOOKUP, then by all means, I am happy to hear anyone else's opinion on that. So let me pop this poll up, and I apologize for forgetting that. Here we are. You should have a poll pop up on your screen, and I just want to get a feel for the audience here. And we've already started into macros, so I apologize it for being a little late, but let me know, and then also lets me know where we might have more questions or where we can go a little faster. You have more experience. All right. Seeing a lot for the never created macros or VLOOKUP. So a lot of this is new for a little over half of our audience. And I do definitely expect a few of you here. We have a lot of TCCSA staff, so I hope they both know about macros and VLOOKUPs. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to end that poll there. I might not have gotten all of you in there, but I'm going to stop that poll and move forward. If there's any other questions, now's a good time to squeeze them in before I move on to another file. I'll pull up our presentation again for you all so we can address the next slide. If we are thinking about some of the sheets we get from reports from our student information system, perhaps there are blank rows or just things don't look as neat, and we want to clean up a spreadsheet. So our task this time is going to be to remove only rows that are entirely blank. Now, we're going to open a spreadsheet. My practice is the fundraising workbook. So you should have a file titled Fundraising Blank Rows in the macros folder. When we open it up, we're going to name it Remove Blanks. The steps are here below. And in Excel, there's always multiple ways you can get to tools. And as we are recording, you can either pick F5, Control G, or the Home button to find and select. We're going to use this tool called Go To Special, and we'll be picking blanks. So that's a review of what we're going to take on next. And I need to go get that file myself. So let me open that up and go for our file that's called Fundraising Blank Rows, which all these files I want to open on my other screen. There we are. I'll make it a little larger so it's easier to read, but you see all these blank rows in there, right? To maybe, I had plans for adding in between here, and I decided, no, I'm not going to need these blank rows. And if I encounter files like this often, or if it's just for this only, this particular workbook, then I might apply my macro just to this sheet. So let's go through those steps, right? We're going to our View menu. We're clicking on the arrow for macros, or you're going to the Developer tab and you can just click Record Macro, your choice. The name, remove blanks. And a little bit about names. You can't start with a number. You can't have blanks. So I make sure I just use capital letters. I like to use words that describe the macro. Do I want a keyboard shortcut? I don't know. Maybe, Control R because it's for remove. And then where's this one going? Now this is very specific. It's going to be blank rows just for this file. So I could say in this workbook, not in the personal. I don't think I'm going to use this for other sheets. So the description again, remove blank rows. Optional, says what my name is, so I didn't really need it, but it's there. So the box is down here at the bottom right. That's your confirmation, and you can hover over. It is currently recording. That means any click on my screen now is going to be part of my macro. So I'm looking, and my next step is to go ahead, select the entire sheet. I'm going to do one of those things, F5 or Control G, but I'm going to use the menus. I'm going to Home, Find and Select. It's over in my editing group. And I'm going to click Go to, oops, apologies. My mouse clicked too soon. Go to Special, which is nice. It's right there in the list. I'm going to say blanks. Do this special thing for me. Click OK. It highlighted them. Awesome. So I'm halfway there. Going to right click and I need to select delete. What am I doing? I am deleting the entire row, so I'm going to click on OK. There it is. The empty row is removed. I can stop my recording right now. Click at the bottom. It is stopped. The reason these cells are still highlighted is just in Excel. It detected those rows earlier, so those are what were shaded in. And there it is. All those rows were removed. I can click the undo. That lets me have my sheet back in the state it was a moment ago. I can go up to View and click my macro button. And this is Remove Blanks, so I can run it. And you know what? I need to change this workbook. I apologize. I have that macro recorded in Personal as well from earlier. But in this workbook, there's my one macro, and I click on Run. And it did it. Voila! One click instead of having to repeat all those long steps. Do we have any questions for removing blanks in this file? And I am looking in my speaker notes, so I kind of lied to you guys. I made this one in this workbook, but I did make a note that you really could use this on just about any spreadsheet. So you could save it in the personal. So if you find out, after you recorded it, you didn't put it in the right place, then go back, repeat the steps and save it where you can use it on multiple spreadsheets. I'm currently not going to save changes to this file. And let's get rid of some of these things. Believe we're done with this one and my library. Now I'm just closing everything up. I get a little crazy and a lot of files open, but this is our next file to work with. So if you look in our practice files in our macro folder, you're going to find a payroll only Excel file. I discovered after uploading it that I had left some conditional formatting on it. So if you are opening this, and I will fix this for those who watch the recording, but this file might have conditional formatting on it already. So if you're on the home menu, click conditional formatting and clear those rules from the entire sheet. Please do that for the high pay and for the net pay. I just had played with it, forgot about those things that got saved, and I would like you to clear them out. Now, back to our presentation, where you can find the steps for this will be on slide 7.
Rebecca,
And yes,
can you repeat what you just said?
okay. For the conditional formatting, yes. So go ahead. If you have opened the practice file called payroll only, click on, it may be on either sheet. It doesn't matter. Both need cleared. And this is only for those who are in the live class. those participants. On the home menu, please click Conditional Formatting and clear the rules for the entire sheet. You might see like maybe this is highlighted green and same thing on high pay. Probably a few numbers in this are highlighted green. And if yours looks like that, just quickly go to the conditional formatting, clear rules from the entire sheet. And then everything should look black and white. Thanks, Shelley. Well, now that it's clean and ready to go, that slide I wanted to quickly show you here, we'll go through these steps. And the purpose for this would be perhaps you have employees listed with net pay, and we want to quickly have a visual of those who are above 4,500. So automatically this will highlight high paid employees, and we have the payroll sheet open. I either can go through the view macros, or if I have the developer tab, go there to record macro. We'll name this one highlight high pay. Now this one really is just for this workbook, especially because of the range. And we're going to be selecting this I2 to I11. So I'm going to move this out of our way, and that way we can practice. I'm on the high pay sheet, view.
Hey, Rebecca, can you
Yeah.
stop for a minute?
Okay.
We are all seeing a black box in the bottom left corner of your screen. I don't know if there was a pop-up or something that came up, but we can't see your tabs.
You can't see my tabs, really, and I don't
Mm-mm.
have anything at all on
I
my
know.
screen.
I thought
Erg.
it was just me, but someone else stated that as well.
Okay, how about doing this? Will that help everybody?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
and I'm sorry about the black box. I don't see it. Well, I'm on the View tab. I'm clicking the arrow below macros, and I'm going to record my macro. And what does it need to do for me? The name, right? It is going to be highlight. Ooh, got extra in there. High pay. I'm not doing a shortcut but I am going to store it in this workbook because it's very particular, it's specific, and I can click on OK. Now, next, I'm going to enter in, and why my high pay? Oh, what is going on here? Okay, I'm good. I'm going to, I think I just went ahead on a slide, that's all. So it was showing me instructions for the next step. I'm going to select my range, right? I need to go in column I, and this is where the numbers are. So I'm selecting that. And now I'm going to do that conditional formatting that I want to appear. So I'm from the home menu, conditional formatting. I'm going to create a new rule that tells the spreadsheet this. Hey, when you are on cells that contain, that would be my choice, that they contain a cell value that's higher than, okay? 4,500, that was my benchmark. Then down here, I want you to turn the color green for money. Here we are. So this is the scripting that's going behind the scenes that I'm going to say, okay, it worked. I see 2 cells in there, and I'm basically done. I can stop the recording. I can do a quick undo on my sheet, test out my macro, which is, I always encourage you right away to test your macro. And there we go. I can run, and it works. So we're going to move forward and go ahead and do another macro on a second sheet here, net pay. And this one is going to have where we actually take, there we go, and calculate. So we can have a formula ran inside a macro, and it's going to calculate net pay. It just takes your gross minus your deductions. And we're doing this and naming it net pay. We're just applying it to this workbook. So let's get that out of our way. One more practice, and we are going to view, record macro, and our steps are to follow. We're going to enter the formula in, oh, sorry, forgot to name it, calculate net pay in this workbook. One more time, we're going to just start with our equal sign. We're doing this for G2 minus H2. And this is not a class on creating formulas, but I'm hoping you are somewhat familiar. I dragged a little long. There we go. And that applies just to those. And I can stop. So it's doing a calculation, and anytime I open this up, great. On this workbook, it's going to do the calculation for me. So I'll do my test. I'll go all the way back. As you see, nothing is in the net pay column. Run my net pay macro. Voila. Very efficient. Now, I want to go back to our presentation here because it's possible you may want to run a button, create a button. I want to ask the group, because of time, who here wants to add a button? And this screen is just displaying the steps on how you showed the developer tab. What a button does, it's going to, I'm clicking ahead through these. These are the steps to add a button. I just wanted to show you. It's going to look like this, where you have a little button that instead of going up to view and running your macro, you would click this button. I want to ask the group, should we spend time on this, or do you feel you could go through those slides on your own? And this is to save time.
I got a yes, please in the chat.
Okay, so we want to go through this. Very good. All right. Well, there we are. Unless I hear any otherwise, then let me back up through those quickly. Sorry for all the animations, but this time you will need the developer tab. And that was through going through your file menu, options. When customize ribbon appears on this left, select it, and from the popular commands, you'll pick developer and click OK. So now that tool is up here. We're moving to a different area though. We're going to insert and we're looking at form controls, and button is the form control we'll need to use. We need to already have a, well, that's the nice thing. It was, we aren't going to re-record something new. We're going to use our highlight high pay we already created. So we're going to view our macro. So when we click that button, it's pulling in and asking us to assign a macro. We click OK. And then on the screen will appear this button. You're going to right click it to edit the text, and then high pay will appear if that's what you've typed in. Because this is a real basic form tool, we can't color it. We could color the text, but just wanted to let you know that's as pretty as it's going to get. So let's get this out of our way quick here. Our highlight high pay, right? That's the one we're going to do. And so I just switched back to the sheet. And how about I follow those steps? So developer tab, I'm going to go into insert. Here's the button for form controls. And I can draw this anywhere. I can draw it any size. I'm going crazy big just for fun. And the button name is going to be high pay. Fine. It's going to appear only on this workbook. That makes sense. Oh, I apologize. I am not assigning a name here. I need to pull in the one that I want to use. My apologies. But it is crazy big still. And this is where I right click to edit the text. And I type. And I know it probably is a little disconcerting that you don't see what you're typing, but as soon as you hit enter or click outside, there we go. And mine actually kept the ending. I don't like that. I can edit. I can select it all and just try again. Let's see if it, yeah, I wiped out it all and edit high pay. And maybe that's just my screen that does that, but if yours does as well, don't worry, you kind of just need to type blindly and it will appear. So if I went ahead and didn't have conditional formatting, which I know I can just remove here with clear rules, okay? I'll pretend that my macro was never run. It doesn't show. I click my button and voila, there it is. So that's how you add the button. Now, this was brought up a little earlier. If you need to edit it, it's on a hidden workbook. And so if you do need to edit, you would be prompted to unhide either the workbook or the personal file, and you can unhide it, make your changes. And it's possible that you're not going in there to edit them, you're maybe going in there to delete them. So how do you do that? To unhide the personal XLBS file, which is where these macros get stored, you would go up to the View menu and you would click Unhide. It'd ask you, what are you wanting to unhide? Well, it should be this one and only file. It's the only one that should be hidden, and you click OK. Now, when we think about saving the personal XLBS file, you might get pop-ups. Like when we leave Excel here, if you've been practicing with me, you are going to get asked, hey, do you want to save changes? Oh, yeah, you do. Because otherwise, you're going to lose all the macros you just made. And there's a second window there. Do you want to save the changes you made? If you click, this one was a little more descriptive. It's telling you they'll be available next time. If you don't, a recent copy of the file will be temporarily available. So don't count your chickens, based on temporariness. Let's make sure we get it all. So make sure you save. That's what would happen if you don't save. Um, you will lose your macros. And where are they going? This is important. There is a folder. It's probably hidden. I did put in the speaker notes how to unhide the app data folder. But this path started with my PC, local disk C, users, Rosecrans, I'm the user, and then your app data roaming, Microsoft, Excel, the Excel start folder. And there's that personal file. And why do you care? Because maybe, you run into this situation where your macros are missing. Maybe something happened to this file. This file does not exist until you've made your first macro, though, just to let you know. And when we exit Excel today, make sure you do say yes, save to the personal. I do want to let you guys know, though, because treasurers could have some higher end security for roaming profiles. It might wipe that folder out on logout, but I doubt if you guys are roaming. And some districts may block macros unless files are in trusted locations. So that's just something to touch base with your IT if you're finding that you're not able to save your macros. That is just a little cautionary note there. So sometimes you get this personal file and it's popping up, and playing with your macros just cause that temporary file to, I don't know, linger, really is the point. And so if it's lingering, you're going to want to, anytime you open Excel, you get that pop up there that it's saying, hey, it's locked for editing by you. You're like, what? I didn't even touch this thing. But that's coming up, and I have it coming up on my machine, but I have poked and prodded macros for the last 2 weeks. So it's kind of gotten upset with me. And one time, I went all the way through that path. I deleted it and I just started from scratch. But if it comes up, that's what it's telling you. It's just said that the temporary file is lingering. You can follow the path I provided. You can pull it up and go back and have it delete the temporary one if you see two files. That's the way to fix that problem. And it's not a big problem. It's just a nuisance. It just keeps opening and it says, well, what do you do? Want to view only or read only? And you can just ignore it. But if it just does keep coming up, that's what has happened. This is just a nice comparison slide about where should your macros live. Should they be in the workbook? Well, sure, if they are very specific to certain cells And if it's going to maybe damage other data on other spreadsheets, then yeah, keep it protected. Is it something like formatting or removing the entire blank row? Hey, go for it. No risk of data, then it could be used on anywhere. So that's just a nice comparison for you. Now, we have three choices here. Right now, when we did the high pay and we did the net pay, it was the entire column. Well, it wasn't. It was just like for a few cells. And if I thought, oh, I'm going to keep adding to that sheet, I should just select the entire column. Well, that's not the best use because guess what? Excel is going to try and process over 1 million rows per column, even if there's data in it or not. And that'll slow down the file. And if you want to really make a whole column to make your sheet truly dynamic, say that payroll, you have new employees and it's growing and you're adding, or it's a fundraiser file and more events and expenditures are coming in. So instead, they say, hey, last row. And really, the best way is the Excel table, which because of time, I'm going to need to skip the last row description, which is really fine because it's kind of complicated. And I was only going to show it to you because of its complexity, but really the best choice is to make your Excel into a table. And then the table automatically grows, simple for anyone of us getting just started and prevents future coding errors. So I am skipping these slides, but really everything is in the speaker notes that would let you get through it if you were going to do it this way. And look, it's just, some ugly text scripting we would have to learn and we'd have to go into Visual Basic. None of us really probably want to deal with that. So here's the better way to go. Let's be um, easier and simpler. Let's use an Excel table. And I pulled that away pretty quick from you guys. But the idea is this, and I'm going to stick here with my high pay. I have that massive button on my screen. And we're going to follow these steps. So I can click on any cell here. And maybe you're very familiar with creating tables, but if you're not, you can click Control T, or I can go to Insert, and I can go to Table, and now it's selected. Because my mouse was somewhere in this range that it detected the area. And so when this pops up, do I want to create a table? Yeah. Sorry, this probably is small. And that's the area. And I want to be sure that my box is checked for that. My table has headers because I do. And I'll click OK. So there's my table. And the idea is this, that up here at the top left, I'm going to rename this table. This is my high pay. And I have to follow rules just like with the macro naming table. I pay table and then press enter. So the table's finished. Now, um, in this slide, it does say the macro should be created after the data has been converted to a table, so it detects the table and is dynamic. So I would not be able to use that macro I already made. Problem is because it was written to only detect from I2 down to I11. So if I typed in, I'm just going to type in more numbers that are high. Hey, well, look at that. Lucky me. This one is working. So, I have numbers that as soon as they hit over my limit, they are detecting. So that is a dynamic macro. I got lucky with the table actually updating this. So if you detect that your conditional formatting that was set in that macro is not working, all you need to do is make a new macro after the table was established. A really handy place to have your macros is on the quick access toolbar. And this is the second half of that handout where I referenced earlier. So you can make a macro quick link. and it's up here, say at the top of your screen, you will click down to the area where you have more commands. You'll pick up the quick access toolbar and change the commands to be looking at macros only. So all the macros you've created will be listed, and then when you pull it over to the right bank, it will let you modify. And this is to let you pick a little graphic to go with it. This is where I end up spending way too much time picking just the right symbol that will represent the macro. And when you're found the picture you want, you can click OK. And then this pop-up will disappear and you can click OK again. In your toolbar then, I had clicked this symbol here, and I had another one that was a time saver to me, so I used the hourglass. And so that's what those will look like. Let me move this out of the way, and you'll see again my icons. And earlier I made this one with the pound symbol. So that slide shows you each step of the way. These are my examples that are appearing. Any questions on the most recent information we covered about converting into a table for a dynamic macro or for adding a button up there in the quick access links?
Hey, Rebecca, on your
Yeah.
toolbar, I see that it looks like there's sticky notes next to your Excel screen. I think that might be the black box that we are seeing.
Oh,
Uh,
sticky notes. I can close my, I do have sticky
there,
notes.
it's gone.
Okay. Yeah,
Yay.
but I still have my sticky notes. Let me bring the sheet back. Is
Yep,
it
that's better. Thank you.
okay? Oh, I'm glad you thought of that. Sorry, everybody, that was there all that time. Okay. Anything for our chat? All right. I'm not
Nothing in
seeing
the
it.
chat.
Yeah, nothing new. All right, everybody. Well, that was macros, and it did take more time than I anticipated. I don't want to cheat VLOOKUP, but I do know if you have to drop off in 10 minutes here, I understand, and know we'll have the recording. And VLOOKUP really is simple. Macros was the big rock, but VLOOKUP's a function that is, let me get our slide up. Apologies. So it's a function that's used in a formula, and in Excel, we know formulas. They are really just equations. They perform calculations on data. They always start with an equal sign. I used one earlier, and it combines numbers. Those are your constants. It has cell references, operators like a plus, minus, multiply, divide, and built-in functions like sum or average. And the point is, it wants to dynamically compute those results. So it allows for automatic updates when source data changes. I'll briefly mention HLOOKUP, and we'll be practicing XLOOKUPs. So here's just an example where a VLOOKUP, what it's doing, it is in plain English. The V stands for vertical lookup, so it's going down the column. And that's really for financials, how our data is. We don't have horizontal data. And it's going to pull related financial or student information, if we have student IDs, student names, from one to another table instead of typing it by hand. So here I have a student ID here, student ID there. Those are my references. Takes that data in the first column to use as a reference to match. So they're in orange, it's matching. And then the order of the data does not always have to match. And I did want to show you that there, like 303, 301, 305, you know, depending on what your task is. But that is mixed data here. And then the example that I want in column D, it's going over here in the space where I have column C. So fee balance needs to move. So my references are the student IDs, but the balance is what I need to get onto the separate spreadsheet. So common uses for VLOOKUP are, student fees, vendor accounts, PO numbers Our EMIS professionals, you guys are comparing data maybe sent to the state, or compare level 2 reports from an earlier report you have. And they can be used on the same sheet. You can use them within the same workbook, going sheet 1 to 2, different spreadsheets. And that's what we're going to practice here, are different spreadsheets. And there is a link I stole from Shelley's VLOOKUP class. So if you feel you're cheated on VLOOKUP, we have a full recording for VLOOKUP that spends 48 minutes just on VLOOKUPs only. And but regarding Google Sheets, there is a link in the speaker notes for all of you. Horizontal lookup, just to mention, it looks across the row. You likely don't have your numbers going from left to right like this example. So it's rare cases. So if your data goes down, use a VLOOKUP. If your data goes across, use an HLOOKUP. Now, we are going to be using the insert function button. There is another reference document, again from the EMIS Alliance, that is in our practice folder for VLOOKUP, and it is, VLOOKUP PDF. And so it will also build a lookup function. But I'll tell you this, they use just by scratch the syntax. They're not going to use the function button like we see here. Another screen I've stolen from Shelley's class. So our insert function button is right there, and that's how we are going to get started. And when this pop-up appears, you might not see VLOOKUP if you've never, ever created one. And so we will search for it up here in the top box if we need to, and then it will be down below. Mine will display most recently used. Oh dear, that is blurry. I apologize there. Did not notice that earlier. But a screenshot of a screenshot gives us this. VLOOKUP, it does need a table and a column number. So that VLOOKUP value, first row there, is saying, ask yourself, what are you searching for? And then the next step down will be that table array. The VLOOKUP column, the lookup column must be first in the table array. And I'll explain this more when we practice. Because this formula can't look left, but XLOOKUP can. Now you must count your columns. So if we're looking for data that appears in the fourth column, we'll have to count. And that's what the column index number references. And range. And range is referring to, hey, do I need exactly what's in that cell, or can I kind of fudge and guess? And believe it or not, the true statement is the default in a VLOOKUP. So if you forget to type something in there, it's going to default to true, and Excel will be like, I'll give you back what's the closest match, even if it's wrong. Excel assumes that the list is sorted and returns the closest lower value. But true is okay if you are going to use it for grade ranges, tax brackets, shipping tiers. But if you leave it off your formula, like I said, it assumes that you want true. Let's just say we're going to be typing false, and it's not case sensitive either. What's really cool, everything on the screen is giving you hints. So range lookup, here it's describing exactly what I was kind of paraphrasing here. And always look at that little statement down below as you're filling each one of these out. So let's practice. Here we go. We're going to get into different files now. And when I go into my folder on my desktop, yours are saved online unless you downloaded these. Going into my VLOOKUP folder. I gave you guys some bonus files. So the files 1 class roster and 1 student VLOOKUP are the two we're going to work with. I just put ones there. And it is important. I'm glad it popped up. It is saying, hey, you've done a VLOOKUP on this, and it's referring to a whole nother file, an external source. Is it unsafe? Yeah, I trust them because I know I put the VLOOKUP in this file and it's referencing the other sheet. And if you're pulling down these sample files, you'll probably see that yours will break. And it's because you might not have the two files in one folder. So that's the tip. Make sure you save multiple sheets in one folder so the references to each other don't get broken. So I'm going to open up the second file. Now this is a case where, since we're dealing with two sheets, I'm going to pull this over to my right edge of my monitor. It will snap to the right side, and then I want this one here on my left. And so here we go. And what did I do? Did I give you guys sheets? And you can go left or right. It depends. It's really your personal preference. I believe in my screenshots, if I have any more on the presentation, that they are probably referencing the other direction. And I don't think it's going to matter. All right. Well, here we are. I have a spreadsheet and the fees are in this file. Maybe it was report somebody else had. I didn't have it. I want to bring in the fees balance. And I did include a sample here. That is the error. You're going to see this actual sheet has a lot of files. And I'm going to switch my two screens because it's just a little easier for me to navigate. And I have, if you've ended and you looked across the bottom, I have a sheet for VLOOKUP, V out of order, XLOOKUP, X out of order, and an error sheet. So with 3 minutes left in our class, I'm not going to be able to go through all of those, but I will go through VLOOKUP here. And it did have a sample. If yours is erroring or doing an AN/A, which is totally possible, that is perfectly fine. You can click in here and wipe out what existed. You aren't going to want that sample. So to start with a VLOOKUP, you click up your insert function. I had mentioned before, if yours does not show up here, it says, hey, type a brief description. Well, you could do V, look up, and click go. And since we typed the exact function, it's going to show up. So I can click OK. These are the fields I was reviewing just a moment ago, the VLOOKUP value. So what is the thing that's common between these two that I can use? And student number is an excellent choice here. So I'm going to go up to cell A, row 2, and click once. So that fills it in. I'm moving down next. All right, here's our little hint text table array. So it's saying it's a table of text, numbers, or values where we are going to retrieve the data. Now it can be a reference to a range or a range name. This is where I need to head over to the other spreadsheet, the student fee lookup. And I need to include the cells that have the student number. And I need to go across and to have also the data I want to pull in. So I need to go all the way over and down to get the fee balance. So it's saying if you find this number from the sheet on the right, you're going to report back to me the number in the fee balance column. Now here's where a VLOOKUP requires you to have the columns counted. And it's a really big spreadsheet, then that could be problematic. But for us, it's only 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Column D has the data. So I type a number 4. And I went on long, way too long about what we want to type here. But false is going to be what we want to tell Excel because we want an exact match. Now, up above, we see all this gobbledygook. It has written out for us. It has all the special syntax. I click OK, and voila, it has provided for me the answer it pulled in 15 from this sheet. And I could just click that cell and copy down to bring in the rest of the numbers. And these happen to be in the same order. That's perfectly fine. If you want to practice on your own, I have the same example, just the kids are out of order. And just to illustrate that it does work. But here I also included a screenshot to kind of pair in what you're getting up here at the top. And I'll pull that from our presentation for you. And I see our time has passed. So if I lose you, I apologize for this going long, but I'm going to finish this on my own and you can watch the rest in the recording. But what we are breaking down the pieces and parts of the VLOOKUP to say, here's our VLOOKUP value that in the spreadsheet in that formula is A2. The second thing was the table array. So it has to reference out to the other spreadsheet that was named one student fee lookup. And it's saying it's on sheet 1 with this absolute column A over to column D, starting in row 1 all the way over to 6. And so I also have my column index number where I counted. The fourth column had the data I wanted to bring over, and my range lookup is false. So I want to show you a XLOOKUP quickly here. And this is a more modern version. That would be one difference. If you have a very old version of Excel, which I doubt, then that would not be your choice. But if you're using Office 365, Excel 2026, XLOOKUP is the more modern method. And it's actually simpler for you. But there's similarities. We're going to still have the lookup value. Our reference where we're pulling the data is the same. The table array, okay, this one's called lookup array. That's all right. Still says go to my spreadsheet. And this time, if you look at this one, we're going to practice it. But column A, it's saying all the way from row 2 down column A down to row 7. It is not doing across the spreadsheet. It's only going down one column. And then here's where the two differ. I have to count if it's a VLOOKUP, but I don't have to count if it's a XLOOKUP. Here's the return array, and it's going to say, all right, again, go look at that spreadsheet, and you have to go over to column D. Instead of counting, we just go straight to the column, and it's starting in row 7 and ends in starts in row 2, ends in 7. So those were the comparisons. Let me do one of these real quick, and it's on another sheet here. It's XLOOKUP. Sorry. And I had one finished up here. So let me head out to my XLOOKUP sheet. I'm going to just start, and I'll wipe out the old one so it's gone. And start again. I am going to do it like the handout this time, just to show you here another way. If you don't care for the function box, you can do these manually. So any formula starts with your equals. I type XLOOKUP. Great. The tab key will help format this and pull in the parenthesis I need, the right syntax, and it's highlighting lookup value, which I included in the screenshot below. That right here is going to be A2. Yep, the student ID. That's my reference. A comma is going to separate each one of these steps. So that's the syntax I need. And now the lookup array. And we know we only need the first column. It's saying, look at these student IDs. And if you have a match, great, I can do comma. I need you to report back to me. And that's the return array, what's highlighted in pink. Report back to me what you find in column D. And I can end it here. There is also an if not found, and there is more that an XLOOKUP will do, but I can end this syntax with the last parenthesis to close it and hit enter, and it pulled it over. What's nice about the XLOOKUP, if column D, if this data was on the left side, totally could have pulled it in. Didn't matter that student ID, because like I know for progress book in student information, if you're using Easy Query, the student ID appears in the third column. It doesn't appear where you need it to be. So that is problematic. And if we look here, we could have had the fee balance column over in column A if we wanted, and because an XLOOKUP does not care. So I'll pull up our presentation here just to talk about common errors handling we need to do. So error handling would be if you get an N/A, what has happened? It says, hey, your value's not found, and you can check for typos and ensure the exact match. If you want to learn how to do your own errors, then you can use this slide as a reference. You would have to hand type in if error and add the comma and the quotations in any text you would want to display, such as not found. But guess what? It's a lot easier if it's an XLOOKUP. You just add your comma and you type in parentheses the text you want to appear. So XLOOKUPs make error handling a lot easier. And then the last is the, hey, if you get a reference number shown there at the top, then that indicates maybe, the index number is greater than the number of columns in the table. So there's not a match to the reference. And if you have a value error, which is another common one, check that the formula is correctly typed and that all arguments are correct. So I'm going to end it there. Sorry for going over, even though this class does include a little bit more. This slide's just an XLOOKUP and VLOOKUP comparison. But filters and sorting, it really is easy. And what you see on the slides here will let you walk through turning them on, and you can click through. Sorting, I even included a step-by-step as well. So thank you for joining. If you have any questions, I'll stay on for a moment, but I'm going to end our recording.